I don't know about you guys, but I used to always get really kind of excited and curious when I'd hear a chord voicing I'd never heard before. Like my ears would turn, I'd be like, what was that? And I couldn't wait to go home and work it out. Like I remember the first time I heard this. My name's Luke from guitarvivo.com, and today I'm going to show you 2 ways that you can start taking the chord voicings you already know and turn them into new, exciting, reusable, repurposed voicings. So if you're anything like me, you've probably been completely awestruck by players like Ted Green or Don Mott. I still remember the first time I heard Don Mott play this. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. By the way, those are 2 names every guitarist should know. Ted Green and Don Mott. Look them up if you do not know them. I promise you won't regret it. Sitting and watching them inspired me to try and make a huge part of my vocabulary unidentifiable. Now, not just to the ear. I love the idea of busting out shapes that someone couldn't immediately recognize and intellectualize. I wanted my chord vocabulary to kind of instill that awe in other people. And a lot of the way we process music nowadays is by watching it. And I always used to feel that fourth wall or mystery kind of break when I could just watch someone's hands and know exactly what they were doing. It adds to the level of immersion because people can't really understand what you're doing in real time, so they can't interpret it with their eyes. But on top of that, if you think about it, every chord shape you know that they can't identify visually is technically a sound or color that you're portraying that they're not used to. So these are all sounds. It's not just about playing weird things. Each shape or cluster or concept is another sound you have at your disposal to paint the picture you want to paint with. And that's really how I think about it. So over the next few weeks on my website, guitarvivo.com, I'm going to be sharing with you the modern voicing systems that I use. So we're looking at modal voicings, Lydian voicings, spread clusters, like 21st century harmony type things, quartal voicings and things like that. I'm going to be showing you all those systems. So what I thought would be a great way to introduce you to it would be to get on here and show you 2 simple ways that you can start to grow your unique and personalized chord vocabulary. And if this kind of stuff appeals to you, then head over to the website and check out the rest of the series. So the 2 basic concepts I'm going to show you today are translations and transformations. These are 2 processes we can use to repurpose your existing chord vocabulary exponentially. But before we get into it, let's just play an example progression so you can kind of hear these things in action.
You don't know, baby, when you hold me, yes, and kiss me softly, it's the sweetest thing. And it don't change if I had it my way. You would know that you are. You're the coffee that I need in the morning. You're the sunshine in the rain when it's pouring. Won't you give yourself to me? I just wanna see how beautiful you are. You know that I see it. I know you're a star. Where you go, I'll follow, no matter how far. If life was a movie, then you're the best part.
So I heavily used translations and transformations in that performance. Let's start off with translations. So translation is when we take a shape you know and move it around, and that basically changes the intervals we get above the bass note. So if I keep the E in the bass and move the shape around, I get a minor 9, an Aeolian chord, a major 7 chord, a 7 sus chord. I can get all kinds of different chords, modal chords, suspended chords from that one shape. Now there are logical ways to work this out when you're familiar with chord structures and how they tessellate and how intervals invert. But for now, the easiest way to think of it is take a voicing, think of it as a slash chord, and then see what that gives you when you run it through every possible slash chord. Then from there, pick which ones are useful and commit them to memory. Or if you find some that are nearly useful, you can give them a little tweak. Remember, you can be creative with it. You don't have to stick to the rules. The second method I used was transformation. This has a mathematical meaning. Or you can think of this as like translating between languages, where the language is major 7 language to minor 7 language, dominant to diminished, suspended to half diminished, minor 7 flat 5. You can take any existing chord voicing you know, understand what the intervals are in that voicing, and then tweak them around to see how you make that major 7 chord a minor 7 chord, or that major 9 chord a minor major 9 chord. So every time you learn a voicing, start finding how you can transform that voicing so that you can use it in 5 or 6 different other situations. So let's go back to our minor 9 chord, and you can see the intervals going from the bottom up is flat 7, flat 3rd, 5th, and 9th. Now, if I know my chord spellings, so this is where you need to know some theory. If I know my chord spellings, I know what notes I need to change and how I need to change them to make that minor 9 chord into a major 9 chord, a dominant 9 chord, a minor major 9 chord, a minor 7 flat 5 natural 9 chord, a minor 7 flat 5 flat 9 ninth chord. I know how to do all that simply because I know what intervals are being used in that voicing. I know what the intervals are of my target voicing, and I can just tweak it from there. So every time you learn a new chord, you want to start asking yourself, how can I transform that chord so that I now know a chord for every possible situation I would need out of it? And I'll write a little list here of some of the translations you can go through and pick some of the chords you already know and work it through this list. But remember, when you do this, you want to find practical voicings, ones that you can get in real time, and ones that have oral aesthetics, so ones that sound nice. So if we go back to my playthrough in the start, I started with this major 9 chord going root 3rd, 7th, 9th, and then I translated that into a minor 9 chord, and I translated it back into major 9 chords, and I had to know what notes I needed to change, and I also changed the string sets that the voicing was on, so I had to know how to move that voicing up and down string sets. So those are the 2 methods that I want you to play around with. Start repurposing the chords you already know, the shapes you've got under your fingers, because then there's so much cognitive economy in that. You don't have to learn loads of new shapes because you've got this small reference group of shapes that you're able to extrapolate from. And I know this method might not be as theoretical or conceptual or as intellectually stimulating as some of the other methods I'm going into on the website, but that doesn't reduce its validity. So guys, thank you very much for watching this video. If you want to learn more about my systems that get a little bit deeper into creating a personal chord vocabulary, then go check out the trial at guitarvivo.com. We're doing 1 week for $1. So go check that out, like and subscribe to get notified when I do my next video lesson. Thank you very much for watching.